I see you too are a filthy Genji main. You got tired of too many broken promises from Overwatch 2 and saw this Nito Burrito YouTuber posting about Gundam Evolution and thought to check it out. You also have this strange desire to cosplay Beetle from Kubo and the Two Strings. No judgment, just an observation. Well, lucky for you, I'm just your guy to talk about the latest update to Gundam Evolution, Storm. How does the latest mobile suit added to Bandai's Gundam Evolution pan out? Can Susanowo dethrone Exia and Barbados in the melee meta? And how will you dominate as this pointy perpetrator in Gundam Evo's latest season? Well, I think I've got just the answers for you. And while we're at it, if you are interested in more Gundam Evolution content, I would suggest you like and subscribe because there will be more of that coming out of the oven very soon. And I wouldn't want you to miss it. Good morning, noon, or evening, my beautiful people. My name is All Night, and this is how to play Susanowo. Before we talk about Susanowo's core abilities, we first need to talk about his passive, I Fight to Live. The passive is pretty cut and dry. You gain armor whenever you get a kill or assist. This armor rapidly decays while out of combat. It's very useful for Susanowo's get in and get out playstyle, and makes him deceptively tanky in the right team fights. This passive has really good synergy with the rest of Susanowo's kit, allowing him to survive team fights longer and to continue his rotation of abilities. First on his list of abilities, I actually want to cover Susanowo's ultimate first, as it has direct effects on the rest of his kit. Susanowo's ultimate is Transam. Transam is his install super that changes the cooldowns and effects of the rest of his abilities, in a similar way to Gundam Exia. This is your go-all-in tool when the team fight is in your favor to lock in plenty of eliminations and assists. Susanowo's primary attack is Enhanced Sabers. With left click, Susanowo will swing his blades twice in front of him, dealing damage and causing knockback to enemies in range. This attack can be used while in the middle of a dash animation for closing the gaps on enemies and maintaining your damage loop. During Transam, you combine your weeb blades into one Mega Weeb Blade and only swing once per click, though the damage is much higher. During combat, you'll want to weave in your primary attack as often as you can in between cooldowns of your other abilities. Though we'll talk about more definitive strategies in just a little bit. Susanowo's secondary fire is Beam Chakram. By holding right-click, you charge the ability. The ability can only be used when it is at full charge. Once the bar is filled, you can press left-click to throw a boomerang-esque projectile. The Chakram flies a set distance before returning to your current position, causing enemies that are hit twice by the flight of the projectile to be slowed. During Transam, you throw 2 Chakrams instead of 1. Nice job, Susanowo. Way to break ground there. This ability is your primary poke tool from range and allows you to contribute to team fights without going all in. The Chakram is able to pierce enemies and able to return to you and pierce those enemies coming back, so this is a very good team fight tool for hitting a lot of mobile suits at once. It is not his only projectile though. One of Susanowo's utility abilities is Tri-Punisher. He charges up a beam shot effective at mid-range. This projectile pierces enemies, dealing damage and slowing them. During Transam, Tri-Punisher's damage is slightly increased. Shocker, I know. Why does slowing matter so much in his kit? Well, it has direct synergy with his big engagement tool. Susanowo's primary mobility ability, say that shit 10 times fast, Jesus, is high-speed melee attack. Susanowo shoots forward in a straight line while swinging his blades, causing damage and knockback to any targets in your path. The trick here with this ability is that it does additional damage to slowed enemies, and during Transam, damage is increased even further, and you get a second charge of the ability to use. With this ability's high damage and engage potential, Susanowo's assassin playstyle is amplified even further, making him a high-risk, high-reward mobile suit for the hero shooter adrenaline junkies out there. We'll talk more about how this ability transitions into your ability rotation in just a moment. So now we know what Susanowo's abilities do. But how do we apply them in-game? Well, before we dive into strategies, I just want to remind you that you might want to consider liking and subscribing. The like button lets me know what you thought of the video, and it helps out the channel, and if you subscribe, you won't miss the upcoming Gundam Evolution content that I've got cooking up for you. Back to the video, how the heck do we apply all this? One thing that is very apparent about Susanowo's strategy is that he is substantially more defensive than his counterpart Exia. As opposed to going all in when the opportunity strikes, you'll want the opportunity to come to you. Your Chakram is your primary harassment tool and deals a ton of damage if you hit both the initial shot and the returning projectile. And your Tri-Shot is deceptively long-ranged, so you can harass from a distance despite being a melee mobile suit. One absolute mistake you'll want to avoid as much as possible while piloting Susanowo is to not abuse both of his projectile options in one skill rotation. And what I mean by that is not getting too cocky with using Tri-Punisher, then using Chakram before you dash in. Your cooldowns are very long, so please consider the situation and use your Tri-Punisher to start the engagement and use your other abilities based on the situation. If you can't go all in, then you can consider launching your Chakram, but conversely, if your target is isolated, you can begin the engagement with Tri-Punisher, then use your E, fly in, and deal some big damage because of the slow. And lastly, you'll want to follow up with either a melee attack or Chakram to finish off the target. Susanowo's all-in potential is strong, but only in isolated incidents. You'll want to take advantage of low health targets and ensure that they are destroyed as quickly as possible so that you can begin to regain some armor and stay in the fight longer. On the topic of Susanowo's passive, this is what allows for Susanowo's all-in potential. It allows for him to be very sticky in teamfights, however, unlike Exia, he won't be dashing all over the battlefield all the time. Unless you, of course, optimize his ultimate, Trans Am.
We're gaming. You know what? We're gonna keep gaming. Come here. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm disgusting. Oh my god, I'm brutal. They can't stop it. They genuinely can't. Never mind, they can stop it.
The one trick about Trans Am you'll want to keep in mind is that Trans Am actually resets the cooldowns of all of your abilities. So you can fly in, deal your big damage combo, start Trans Am, and keep the damage coming. With your passive giving you tons of armor based on your resets, you'll be an absolute team fight menace. The last note I want to make is that his dash is more than just an engagement tool. If the situation calls for it, use your dash to survive and continue your poke with your Chakrams and Tri-Shot. Don't be the hero. Don't go for the clip, keep your damage loop going, and stick with your team. Now on to final thoughts and impressions. Of all of the melee mobile suits, I struggle to say Susanowo is the weakest. However, Susanowo does have the highest learning curve. I'd say maybe right behind Exia for the most difficult melee suit to master. Barbatos gets the benefit of getting some pretty high damage abilities and an easy reset for escapes on your eliminations, but Susanowo players need to learn the balance between going all in and fighting to survive. It's why I say you may want to consider playing Susanowo more often on defense as opposed to offense, as you'll want enemies to come to you. Playing a melee suit on any open area maps is just begging for GM snipers and dynames to get a little too excited.
Yeah, boy.
On that topic, some suits that synergize well with Susanowo are GM, Pale Rider, and Sazabi. These suits can help support Susanowo and help keep the heat off of him while he goes all in. Some suits that Susanowo will struggle against are GM Sniper, Dynamis, and RX-78. The two biggest nightmares for any assassin player in any multiplayer game is going to be range and CC. The sniper suits will always have a leg up on Susanowo from range, though if you close the gap, they'll have little to say about that. And RX-78, among other suits with heavy CC, will be able to stop you in your tracks before you become too big of a problem, so keep an eye out for those. So that was Gundam Evolution's latest mobile suit, Susanowo. A fun as heck addition to the roster with lots of fast, fun, satisfying gameplay. Don't forget to like the video to let me know what you thought about it, and if you want more Gundam Evolution guides and content coming your way very soon, definitely consider high-speed melee attacking that subscribe button. But before I let you go, my question of the day to you is, what do you think is the best melee suit in Gundam Evolution? Of course, that means Zaku 2, Exia, Barbatos, and Susanowo. Or, I don't know, if you think Jim somehow does that, I won't judge you, but that's who I think are the melee suits in the game. But as always, I have been your host all night, and do not forget to stay loved, keep loving, and have a wonderful night.